One of 17 men murdered by confessed serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer. Family members came to pay their last respects to Lacey. They say they can't even begin to describe their grief, but they also say they're more determined than ever to see justice done. With tears and hugs, a grieving family says goodbye to young Oliver Lacey. But as family members struggle with the pain, they also cope with the anger. Anger not only with Jeffrey Dahmer, but with Milwaukee police.
If they would have did their job and stayed on top of things, we wouldn't be going through this at all.
She's talking about an incident that took place before Dahmer even met her brother. It was outside Dahmer's apartment when police were called to investigate a boy staggering around naked. It was 14-year-old Conarock Syntha, but Dahmer convinced police it was his boyfriend. When they left, he killed him.
If he was right, they would have did more than what they did, but they didn't. They took the Laotian boy back to Dahmer.
Lacey's mother has filed a $3 million lawsuit claiming Milwaukee police violated civil rights laws, in effect leaving Dahmer free to kill her son. But the U.S. Justice Department says a careful review of the facts found no civil rights violations in regard to Conarock Syntha. The Lacey's attorney says a jury might see it differently.
The police, being professional officers, have an obligation to investigate more fully than they did in this occasion. I think they laughed it off.
Wittenberg says the tough part will be proving that Milwaukee police weren't only negligent, but deliberately indifferent. He says the family also wants to make sure Dahmer never benefits from this tragedy.
Obviously, if he should benefit financially as a result of any publications or movies or anything else, we feel that that absolutely shouldn't belong to him. It should belong to the deceased parties and their families and so forth.
Money cannot bring my brother back. That have nothing to do with it. We want justice done.
The Lacey family's lawsuit alleges that the Milwaukee Police Department violated federal civil rights laws. That means the Lacey's attorney will have to show that a pattern of racial bias exists within the department. But in the Sunday edition of the Milwaukee Journal, one of the officers involved says he's astounded at charges of racism. Joseph Gabrish says he's helped thousands of black people. He also says, quote, "God is my witness, I just didn't dump a little boy in the hands of a murderer."
Fire investigators
did when faced with confessed serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer and a naked 14-year-old boy. They returned the boy to Dahmer, who says he killed him shortly thereafter. Wisconsin's top law enforcement official does not think that makes the cops criminals, but he does believe they exercised poor judgment. The officers, who were suspended last month, still face charges within the department. Ann Cavanaugh has the latest from Milwaukee.
On May 27th, Milwaukee police officers carried 14-year-old Conarock Syntha into Jeffrey Dahmer's apartment. The boy was naked, bleeding, and drugged. Today, the Wisconsin Attorney General said he could not prove beyond a reasonable doubt the officers behaved criminally.
But in my judgment, that conduct did not violate the Wisconsin criminal law.
There has been a lot of suspicion in the community that these officers violated the criminal law that night, and now that has been put to rest.
Is the community assured of that tonight? That feeling has not been put to rest for the families of Dahmer's victims. Tonight they were bitter over the Attorney General's decision.
It's obvious that the Attorney General was going to do what he did. I mean, it's not going to change unless we make a change. Oh, yeah. And that, you know, my brother is not going to die in vain. I can tell you that right now.
The victims' families are now looking to Milwaukee Police Chief Philip Areola to give them justice. The police chief plans on interviewing the police officers himself next week. He says he hopes to complete his investigation by the middle of September. According to Areola, the Attorney General's decision does not prevent the police department from disciplining the officers.
The criminal charges must be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. However, the burden for civil and administrative charges is a mere preponderance of evidence.
The victims' families say they won't be satisfied until the police officers are fired. Ann Cavanaugh, Fox News, Chicago.
Jeffrey Dahmer has, of course, confessed to killing and dismembering 17 males.
Lee returned one of Jeffrey Dahmer's eventual victims to him. Those demands come as Milwaukee's police chief prepares for a face-to-face meeting tomorrow with the three officers. Jeff Fleming reports.
The time has come for justice, and it must come soon.
Marvin Pratt was the principal spokesperson for the Community for Justice Committee. Its members include a wide variety of black leaders, politicians, religious leaders, and community activists. Their joint statement makes it clear there's only one outcome which will satisfy them.
Today, we're demanding that the 3 officers in the census phone incident be fired from the Milwaukee Police Department.
Chief Arreola said last week he's planning to meet with the implicated officers in the next 2 days. His options include unpaid suspensions or dismissal for the officers, and his decision could be announced following Tuesday and Wednesday's meetings. When asked if the Community for Justice Committee was placing inappropriate pressure on the chief, one response came from State Representative Polly Williams.
It goes with the turf. And so we're not here trying to put pressure or alleviate pressure off the chief or the mayor or anybody. The job that they have taken on, they have to be responsible. But the point is, we lost 17 young men in this community, and somebody's got to pay for that.
That was Jeff Fleming reporting, and pressure is mounting. There are reports of a possible job action by police if the officers are fired. And if they're not, some black leaders warn that anger in their community will be difficult to contain.